What is up, everyone? Welcome to L2R2 PlayStation Podcast. My name's Fonzie, joined by my co-host, Indie Game Dev, my UK bro from another mum, Callum Monroe. Callum, it's been a hot minute. How you been?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, as I said to you earlier, I was out drinking last night, so just getting over the fragile next day. But yeah, it's been nice to be able to go out and enjoy myself for the first time in a while. So, but yeah, just like I said, been watching Lord of the Rings and feeling sorry for myself and eating lots of junk food to try and soak up all of the alcohol. But yeah, no, good to be chatting again. Hopefully, my internet will behave itself, but it's been good so far. So
Nice. Well, you're wearing the hangover well. It's like I don't see any crazy. I get like bags over my eyes and stuff. It looks like I hit like a trip by a train anytime I drink too much. And you're looking younger somehow. So good on you.
I've slept a lot. I've slept a lot today. But I woke up. I mean, I got in at about 4 in the morning, and yeah, I woke up properly at about 12:30. So, and I've had some like I was in and out of consciousness throughout the day. So, I think I've just that's sort of the way I handle hangovers. Is I'll sleep until I feel okay. If I sort of wake up and don't feel okay, I'll go back to sleep until I sort of feel like sort of all right. But yeah, thank you. It's probably just the light just on my face that's making me look like I have life when
Right.
actually it's not true at all.
Now, do you have a regimen? Like, are you hydrating while you're doing it? Because I've learned over the years, kind of like just like a way to navigate that and not just like go balls to the wall and then just run it into the ground. And I feel like complete shit. Like, have you figured out your regimen to how to ride that wave?
No, not really. It's kind of just like I'll just see what happens the next day. Sometimes I'll be
Sure.
fine, and sometimes I'll not be so fine. But yeah, not normally just sleeping the pain away is the way I handle it. I try and make sure that if I'm going out drinking, that the whole of the next day is like is reserved, is sort of I've got nothing on, just in case I need to sleep for like a ridiculous amount of time.
Right. Yeah. Sleeping is a good way to also deal with it. But yeah, and I rarely like really push it to the limit. Like I'll just kind of drink some whiskey here and there, but yeah, I don't get as lit as the kids say lately. But yeah, once we can open up and start having more events, out in the wild, I'm down because I think a lot of people are now just like super hungry for just interaction. So as soon as they can go to bars and just see people, I don't know how long that lasts before we just start hitting each other again, but I think there's a demand for that right now.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like I was really keen because I hadn't been drinking like properly in ages either, and even when I've been going out to pubs like recently as they've been opening, I haven't been like going mad because I forgot that beer costs money as well, which
Yeah.
you've always got to keep an eye on. But no, last night I went to a friend's and drank a lot, and it was very easy to get very drunk. So and
Yeah.
yeah, and I woke up this morning and I was like, "Oh, maybe I didn't miss it that much actually." I could like taste like tequila in my mouth, and I was just like, "Yeah, this isn't actually enjoyable." Uh, but there's no doubt, I'm sure it'll happen very, very, very soon again, despite sort of the warnings that my body's given me.
Yeah, you got to avoid those or just disregard any kind of red
Yeah.
alerts in your brain. Just well, being a human. We'll end our RE8 conversation there, and let's get in some of the news. So there is a good amount of stuff we can kind of pick through it. This first one is just awesome to see, but we got new DualSense colors. So we got the pre-order available now at Sony's direct website. These released June 11th, and there's two colors here. I don't have the names of them, but they're insanely awesome. How do you feel about these new DualSenses announced?
Yeah, I think I've been sort of thinking about getting a second controller for a while now, so it's a good time to do that. I think they're well priced as well. I remember when the DualSense was first announced, I thought they'd be like £100, especially looking at the is it the Xbox Elite controller, which is like £170 or something.
Yeah.
So I assumed they'd be a lot more than they are. So yeah, I'm definitely keen to get. I think I'll get a black one, um, just to sort of test the water and then maybe get a red one as well. Because yeah, it was the same thing when the DualShock 4s when they started releasing new colors. I did get a bit addicted to getting them all. until I had like a
Yeah.
fleet of controllers. So I'm hoping that I won't do the same again.
Yeah, same. I think I have like 5 DualShock 4s now. Yeah, I think I'm more interested in that black one just because the white on the back of that DualSense, it gets a little crummy, little gross on the back, and I have to keep cleaning it. And I realize, oh, I guess my hands are disgusting every day of my life, and I have to actually pay attention now. But so with the black one, don't have to worry about it anymore, and I can just eat my Cheetos and not worry about getting my controller dirty. So very excited for that.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so those release soon. Callum, we got our next one here. Some news or updates on Returnal. So Housemarque searching for Returnal autosave solution, but it's not easy. This is Kat Bailey of IGN. Housemarque says it's heard the feedback from fans, but that implementing a save feature is easier said than done. We understand that there are some systems in place that are currently a hindering factor. Housemarque marketing director Mikhail Havari told Axios today. Havari's comments dampen hopes of a solution that would enable players to quit without fear of losing their progress, while other roguelites like Hades includes a quick save solution that retains the tension of permadeath. It's clearly not easy to implement such a feature in Returnal. Other developers have sounded off on the subject. I often see players exclaim how easy it is to add something, especially if other games have it. Spelunky designer Derek Yu told Vice Games last week, but every team and game has different priorities, and nothing is really as trivial as it seems from the outside. Still, difficult as it is, Havari says Housemarque is looking for a solution, but currently we just don't know exactly what it is. So it's very difficult to announce anything because I think there's a lot of different people looking for different things. Callum, how do you feel about this? I imagine it's not a deal breaker for you because you're kind of fine where Returnal is at the moment. But as far as modifying just the save aspect of it, how do you feel about them looking into something like that?
Yeah, I think I mean, it'd be nice to be able to quit and return to where you were, or turn your console off or anything like that. So it'd be a good thing to be added in. But yeah, I don't think again. Like I think that guy you quoted sort of said it well. It's all dependent on what they're prioritizing, what they're working on, and whether they think it's a good idea or not. Because I don't think adding that in will, necessarily generate more sales or anything like that. I'm not sure that many people are holding off from buying it because it doesn't have an autosave feature. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice if they added it in. It'd definitely be sort of a help out a little bit, but yeah, whether or not it'll actually happen, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's tough because they're even mentioning that they don't really know how they would even do that if they were going to do that. So I feel like it's going to take a lot of time and resources to where maybe it's not even worth it because they have other priorities like there's bug aspects of the game that they have been working on. There's been a couple of updates since this article was released last week, so they have other stuff that they're working on that's just a bigger priority, or DLC and other stuff that's coming down the line. And so the whole save thing might not be worth it at the end of the day. And yeah, like just like you mentioned, I don't think it's gonna equate to more sales or more people jumping in. I think if Returnal's your bag, it is, and if not, then you just move along. So, and I don't know if just the save aspect is going to make it more approachable for people in general. So, it's tough. It'd be cool to see them implement that, but it's just got to work out for their schedule and budget, and we'll see. But I would love for them to add something like that. But I would go even further because I'm crazy and had like a baby mode, something that I could just have fun with it. But I'm still chipping away this past week after finishing RE8. I've been jumping in more, and I mentioned I can get to the second boss, or the first boss, but I can get him down to a second health bar. So I'm feeling pretty good. Maybe one day in a year I'll actually beat this goddamn boss. But yeah, it's a really dope game. It's just, man, it's pretty tough for me. But yeah, we'll see. I'm still really excited to see what they come up with and DLC down the line. And yeah, I'm really excited for Housemarque.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Callum. So we got the next one here. As I switch over to this screen, there we go. Sony has more than 25 PS5 exclusives in development, and almost half are new IP. This is Sammy Barker of PushSquare.com. PlayStation Studios, the group which houses renowned Sony developers like Naughty Dog and Insomniac Games, has more than 25 titles in development for the PS5, and nearly half of which are entirely new intellectual property. That's according to a Wired postmortem, which features anecdotes from key PlayStation personnel like bosses Jim Ryan and Herman Holst. The platform holder has stressed on multiple occasions that it wants to double down on exclusives, and it's announced several partnerships with new teams like Haven and Firewalk to supplement its own internal efforts. But 25 games is a lot. It means we can look forward to a bright future on PS5 for sure. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I mean, I think it's always tough for the first year of a new gen. So it's just over time we're going to start to get these juggernauts coming in. But how do you feel about them working on 25 different first party games behind the scenes?
Yeah, I don't know when I'll get time to play any of them, just
Yeah.
because I've already got so many games I need to get through. But yeah, I mean, yeah, like you said, it's amazing. That's a lot of games, and exclusives normally mean um, top production sort of quality, because obviously they're only being made for one platform. So they're always sort of the most exciting games for me. So yeah, really excited to see sort of more and more of them announced. And with half of them being new IPs, you can't even sort of begin to imagine what we're going to be talking about in a few years' time.
Yeah, that's the thing. And really, it's going to take time to get these games out here, and which works well because you can't find a PS5 in the first place. So that's a segue into our next one here. Sony now expecting PS5 shortages to continue into next year. This is Liam Wiseman of IGN. It sounds as though PS5 supplies will continue to be limited into 2022. It was never going to be easy to launch a new console in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, and Bloomberg now reports that Sony has spoken to a group of analysts about the supply constraint issues affecting PS5 supplies, reportedly warning that shortages will continue into 2022. I don't think demand is calming down this year, and even if we secure a lot more devices and produce many more units of the PlayStation 5 next year, our supply wouldn't be able to catch up with demand, Hiroki Totoki reportedly told the analysts. So it's not looking good for anybody out there without a PS5, and it's going to take at least into next year to get more of these out here. It's a bummer, and I don't know what you do about it. It's just across the board all these different chip manufacturers are having a hard time. Even the automotive industry, anything that needs a chip is struggling right now. So, how do you feel about a lot of these people not getting their hands on one till 2022?
Yeah, it's a real shame. I mean, I know I'd be uh, really frustrated if was still looking to get one, so I can definitely sympathise with that. But there's not a huge, as much as I love it, and playing Resident Evil in particular on it was great. I mean, it looked unbelievable. But the most of the games you can still play on your PS4, and I mean, like games like Mass Effect just come out, which will probably take you a whole year to get through. So yeah, there's lots of stuff to play. I think the main thing is the whole fear of missing out. But I think people just need to relax, play through their backlog, and they'll get one when they get one. And but yeah, but it's one of those things. It's just out of everybody's hands. Releasing a console in these times. I mean, I'm definitely noticing more and more people getting them. I know that there was in the UK at least there was a few
Mm.
drops over the past couple of weeks, which I know a few people managed to finally get theirs on. So hopefully they'll still be trickling out until 2022. It doesn't mean that there's no chance you'll get one before then, but yeah, I mean, it's no real surprise that these shortages are going to keep going on because we're seeing it still everywhere else. So yeah, hopefully soon we'll not only be able to get PS5s, but graphics cards and all these other sort of PC components that are sort of really difficult to get your hands on at the moment as well.
Yeah, and I guess that is the benefit of having the last generation so strong with so many sales that and well, it was one of our kind of gripes sometimes with some of these newer games coming out, say like at the time Spider-Man or Horizon Zero Dawn, where they were still going to support PS4 because there's so many consoles out there. But now it's worked to their benefit where because it's so hard to get the PS5, at least you have these games still supporting last gen and coming out there. So pretty much, I mean, there's very few, exclusives out for either console, so you can still play a lot of these huge games on current gens or last gen stuff. So it's worked out to the benefit of everyone who still doesn't have a next gen console. So I think you have a good, year and a half, year or two where you can still play these huge games on your current console. So should be fine. And you mentioned where it's like there's still so many games, and all of us have a huge backlog. Where what do we really complain about? They just go back and play some of those older games. It's a
Yeah,
bummer, to miss
yeah,
out. But like, and then all these games are still on last gen, so it'll be all right. We'll just hobble along until we get there, basically.
yeah. Like when you mentioned there was 25 new PlayStation games sort of in development, I was straight away like, oh no. Like, as much as it's like a really nice thing, I'm also just like constantly thinking about all of these games that I need to finish. So it's just never gonna. I think I just need to accept the fact that I'm never ever gonna get through all the games I want to play, and just yeah, accept it.
It's just accept it. You have no control over your life, over the world, and you just gotta keep on going. Ready, come. We got our next one here is about The Last of Us. We got a Last of Us 2 update for PS5. This one was from Games Radar. Ben Trier writes, "The Last of Us 2 PS5 patch brings next-gen graphics to Naughty Dog's masterpiece. The Last of Us 2 PS5 patch has been officially revealed in a new trailer. The Last of Us 2 PS5 patch, which is numbered 1.08, includes the ability to toggle between a 30 FPS and 60 FPS performance mode. This goes alongside other enhancements that focus on resolution, faster load times, and more. However, the PS blog post doesn't mention whether or not this patch will also bring haptic feedback or adaptive trigger support." Callum, have you been? I know you've wanted to play Last of Us 2 again, although I think you might have recently played through it. I know I've been waiting for like a PS5 version, some kind of upgrade, and so I'm super excited to jump into this. But how you feel about getting to play PS or Last of Us 2 on PS5 in 60 frames?
Sorry, my connection's just having a bit of a wobbly at the moment.
Oh,
Hopefully you can hear me okay.
yep,
But yeah, it's a little bit too little, too late for me. Just because I recently sort of because I think because it's taken so long, I was always waiting for this to go back and get the platinum trophy.
yep.
But it just got to the point where I was like, well, it's been so long, I might as well just go back and do it now. So yeah, I just think it is a bit too late. I think this should have been ready beforehand. I mean, it came out so close to the PS5 that to me it didn't really make sense that they didn't already have that ready. Um, but I mean, at least it's done now, and more and more people will be able to play it because it was so noticeable playing it on PS5 with 30 FPS. I mean, it was very juddery in some areas. I mean, it's still an amazing looking game and plays really, really well, but yeah, it's just a shame it's taken this long to have this support.
Yeah, it's so I lucked out because I've been holding out for some kind of update. Although this is still just letting you like an upgrade to that PS4 version of the game on PS5. Do you think there's still hope for like a legit PS5 version, whatever that would be, as far as like going true 4K, 60 FPS? I imagine would still be the max, but like increasing, texture resolution and that kind of thing. Do you think we still get like a legit PS5 version of this game?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it'll be interesting when Factions comes out to see if they'll sort of do anything with that. I imagine they will. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll probably see something similar to what they did with The Last of Us. But yeah, I think that the sort of best guess is to imagine that when Factions is due to come out, that's when they'll look to try and bundle it or something like that, because it would be probably a good idea to say you can only get Factions if you buy Last of Us Part 2 on PS5 or something like that,
Right.
which would be annoying, but I can see it happening. But yeah, so I'm sure it will eventually get a PS5 native version. I mean, we're even getting a Last of Us 1 PS5 remake or whatever
Right.
apparently, so I definitely wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, hopefully, if it comes with a separate trophy list, I'll might pop into it again. But I mean, I'll definitely be playing the multiplayer when that comes out.
Yeah, so I just looked it up. So June 19th was when The Last of Us Part 2 came out. So we're coming up on a year anniversary pretty soon. I wonder if they'll try and coincide with that year to announce, an update on factions or PS5 version of the game. But also June 19th, what happened to time? I feel like this game just came out and it's already been a year. It's like, how does
Yeah,
I feel like it was just Christmas not that long ago.
yeah,
Like, what the hell's going
yeah.
on, Cal?
I've only just sort of recently realised it's not January anymore.
Yeah.
Um, despite the very January weather we're getting here in England. Um, yeah, it's very weird year. I think it's just I think there's just so much going on at the moment, just in the world, that it just makes everything goes by so quickly. Um, and it's annoying because I remember at the end of 2020 when we sort of heard about the vaccine and stuff, I kept sort of saying to myself, right, 2021, it'll be a really good, nice fresh start for everybody. It's all going to coincide with that, and it's now looking like it's going to be 2022, hopefully, that
Yeah.
all of that stuff's gonna start happening. But it's nearly the summer. Well, it should really be the summer now, I suppose. But um, so onwards and upwards. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some game announcements as well to sort of make us all feel better about the fact that time is just not correct.
It's an illusion. It just caught me off guard seeing like it doesn't feel like that long ago, but yeah, it's been a full blown year basically since the game came out. Jesus.
Yeah.
But all right. So, Calum, the next one here is about Biomutant. I don't know if this game has been in your radar, but there was some drama recently with the PS5 version. So, Biomutant only runs at 1080p on PS5 due to technical issues. This is Andy Robinson of VideoGamesChronicle.com. THQ Nordic says it's deactivated native 4K support for Biomutant on PlayStation 5 due to technical reasons. Instead, the game will run at 1080p, upscaled to 4K when played on PS5. In comparison, the Xbox One version of the game will run at 4K 60 FPS with dynamic resolution on Series X, and Series S will run at 1440p, 30 frames per second. The PS5 gameplay video published this week states that the option for native 4K on PlayStation 5 has been deactivated due to stability and performance related reasons. In a further statement published on Twitter, THQ Nordic said, due to technical reasons, we deactivated native 4K on PS5 for the release version of the game. It added, neither are native current gen versions, but the PS4 Xbox One version already performs better on current gen due to more powerful hardware. Native version for current gen are coming, but we can't share any more details yet. So the internet got very angry that we're playing this game on PS5, but it's still locked to 1080p. How do you feel about this? And have you been watching Biomutant? Are you excited for this game?
I saw a trailer recently and it looks pretty interesting. I don't really know much about it, what it really is, but it seems pretty cool. I don't know if I'll end up getting it unless I see something that really uh, sort of makes me think it's worth my time. Just because I've got so many other games on sort of at the moment. Mass Effect's just come out, which I need to get at some point too. But yeah, so is this the so? Am I right in thinking this is the PS4 version it's not like a PS5 version, it's the backward so it's a backwards compatibility problem, mostly, I imagine.
I think that's the case. Yeah, so it's using that PS4 version, and there's no actual hardware benefits. It seems like on the PS5, it's locked at
Yeah,
1080p as it is on the PS4 as well.
yeah. Yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, we've seen it with a few things, on PlayStation. Their backwards compatibility is just not really good enough. And obviously with Xbox, it's pretty seamless. It's almost like there's no versions on Xbox. It's just the same game across the different consoles, but plays better on whichever hardware you have.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a shame. It must be frustrating for people who really wanted to play this game on their PS5s, um, but yeah, I mean, are they going to bring out a PS5 version, or are they just bringing out the last gen ones?
Apparently, in that Twitter or that tweet, they mentioned that there is plans for, or they're going to make an announcement on a current gen version soon. They just can't say anything
Okay,
yet, so you have to imagine behind the scenes they are working on a legit PS5 version of the game. It has been in development for around 4 years, so maybe they just been focusing on current gen, and that's the priority, and then they're eventually going to drop some kind of update. But we'll see. I know people just online were frustrated, that it's locked to 1080p, but I'm pretty stoked for this game. The more I watch gameplay of it, it looks really cool. So it's devs from the oh god, I'm forgetting the name of that franchise, but it's Just Cause. So it's ex devs from that. So they started a new studio. So it has that open world vibe to it. It's very actiony and has strong RPG vibes to it. And so I'm super stoked. And the 1080p isn't a deal breaker. It's a bummer, but I'll still play it because it looks, even though it's 1080p, it looks great. And I think they're trying to do a lot on screen at once. So maybe that's why they just kind of need to figure out how to optimize it and then unlock it for PS5. But I'm super stoked for this.
yeah, yeah, I think it definitely does look cool from what I've seen, and I mean, I can already I haven't seen sort of any of the arguments, but I can already imagine what the sort of content will be of them. But I mean, it's frustrating because it's obviously not because the PS5's incapable of running a game of that fidelity at the intended resolution. It's obviously just because the PlayStation just doesn't have very intuitive backwards compatibility, and I think we've seen that already with lots of other games. So it is frustrating, and I think until we sort of move away from last gen, we're going to see more and more instances like this. But but yeah, like you said, it shouldn't be a deal breaker for anybody. Um, I mean, it's the same as when people are saying about 120 FPS and they don't have 120 hertz TVs. It's just not really something that I think people just prefer to be able to say that it is a certain thing rather than actually play it and notice the
Right.
differences themselves. But yeah, it is definitely a bummer. And hopefully they'll sort of get it sorted.
Yeah, I think it's kind of buzzword stuff. People see that, and the whole new thing right now is 4K, especially 60 frames per second. So they see that their full blown new console doesn't do that. They're firing shots on online, but it's like, well, have you played it? Have you seen some of the gameplay? It still looks pretty dope, and there's
Yeah.
an update coming down the line. But
And
people like
this
to freak out and shoot from the hip, and that's
With
pretty good.
one game, I mean, Resident Evil Village is probably the best looking game I've ever seen. So, like, I think you can take one game and go, "Oh, these next gen consoles aren't, this and that." But like, if you play it, like, they played some of these other games on the PS5 or the new Xbox that look amazing. Like, it's just like you said, it is buzzwords and just making a mountain out of a molehill mostly, I imagine. But I mean, that's not to say it's not acceptable or or it is acceptable. It's not. And but these kind of things happen all the time. If you look at Assassin's Creed Valhalla when that first came out, that was in a really, really poor way on the Xbox. And I think they ended up fixing it. I mean, I think it's in a poor way on both now. I think they ended up making it even worse
Oh,
somehow. Um, but yeah, I mean, these things happen all the time where you have games that perform worse on one system for one reason or another. I mean, they're very complicated things, and different consoles work differently, and sometimes it's gonna cause problems like this.
yeah, and at least for THQ Nordic, giving them some praise for like just coming out in front of this and telling people ahead of time here's what the deal is. They've been uploading a bunch of gameplay separately, so like PS4, PS5, Xbox, PC, all different gameplay uploads that show you each game running at what it can do. And so they're trying to get ahead of it and showing people and just being honest and transparent. So I think it's good to see that, and it's not just the game comes out and then we realize, oh, it's 1080p, blah blah blah, it's been upscaled, it's not true, 4K. Then you have a lot more drama on your hands. So at least they're telling you beforehand, and you can make that decision to buy it or to not buy it. And so I at least respect that aspect of it, and it doesn't seem as a trickery by them just uploading it or releasing it rather and not telling people. So it's like we have the choice as consumers to decide whether that's something that's super important to you or not.
Yeah.
So quit freaking out, everybody. All right, so Callum, we got the next one here as we roll down. PlayStation Studios creator page is live on Steam and teasing more PC ports. This is Sammy Barker of PushSquare.com. PlayStation Studios now has an official creator page on PC storefront Steam, and it's teasing more PC ports beyond Days Gone, which is due out on 18th of May, so it already came out. Several titles are listed on the page, including Days Gone, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Predator Hunting Grounds. However, if you click the About tab, you'll notice that 41 releases have been assigned to the page, many of which are currently private. It's worth noting that Helldivers is its DLC already account for around 16 of those items, so it doesn't necessarily mean those 41 slots are all different titles. Of course, none of this is news really, as Sony has indicated its intent to port more of its portfolio to PC platforms. Earlier in the year, leaked documents revealed that Epic Games was willing to pay PlayStation up to $200 million in order to get dibs on 4 to 6 first party titles on its storefront. So this is good news. I mean, Sony has been transparent the fact that they're wanting to bring more PlayStation games to PC. It seems like they're really they're getting the groundwork ready. So I'm excited. As how do you feel about this news, and what do you think might be their next port to PC?
Um, yeah, I think it's really great to see more games coming to PC. I mean, if you look at Days Gone, that's been received really, really well, which is really nice to see. It shows that the majority of the critical backlash was because of the bugs. So now it's out on PC without these bugs. It's everyone's really loving it, which I think is much more sort of more deserved for of the game. So it's nice to see these games get a second life with a new audience. Um, yeah, I don't know about sort of what's going to be ported next. It could be there could be sort of lots of different games. I mean, I think Horizon's always oh no, Horizon's already done, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm really not sure. I mean, I think Bloodborne could be a good one to do, because I know that there's a
Yeah.
big Souls PC community. But yeah, I'm really not sure. I mean, there's just so many different exclusives that you do wonder. Uncharted would be another sort of cool one as well to do. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But it's exciting that these games are going to sort of again get a second life and get some time in the spotlight again. I mean, I'd love for a game like Uncharted to sort of just be talked about again. It's just because it's just such a they're just such a great series that obviously for normal reasons doesn't really get talked about much anymore. So it'd be nice for games like that to be revitalized and thrown into the spotlight again.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they have so many games they can. I guess they have to strike the right balance where it's stuff that's been old enough to where it's not like you can just play them on PC and disregards or decentivizes you to get a new PlayStation console. Like they have to, I guess they have to go with older releases. So it's something that makes you a fan. So then you get the new PlayStation console so you can play that game, or the new entry. But I'm loving this. I actually bought just the other night bought Death Stranding on sale for PC, and I've been playing that a bit more, and just realized or just fall in love with that game again because I really really dug that game. It was just the ending that fell apart for me, but it's beautiful. It runs amazing. You have the fully unlocked frame rates and textures, and so I think there's just a lot more room for them to bring their titles over to PC. Maybe even it'd be crazy, but maybe even Returnal on PC because it already runs so well, looks so great. But if you could let people fully unlock everything and play that on PC, I think that could be dope. And so they maybe don't have to focus on the older titles so much. They can, maybe balance it where they have some newer stuff that comes into play or stuff out of left field. But either way, I think it's a no brainer to follow this line that Xbox has been doing for a long time now.
Yeah, I think Returnal would be good, especially if, when you look at sort of using a mouse and keyboard. I think it'd be right at
Yep.
home with that sort of control input. So yeah, that'd be a good shout actually. But I don't know whether I think that would be one that would be a few years time probably. But
Yeah.
I mean, but that's a great game that could have all these quality of life improvements. You know, like we're talking about earlier with the auto saving and things like that, and then released again on PC. So similarly to Days Gone, which has had all these quality of life improvements and then re-released. So games like that, it would work really really well for.
Yeah. So I'm excited. At least we're in the future now where Sony is willing to let these titles transfer over to PC. So it's a good time to see that. Alrighty, Con, we got some PSVR2 news. So PSVR2 reportedly includes 4K display, eye tracking, and haptic feedback. This is Jordan Alleman of IGN. PSVR2 will reportedly include a 4K display, eye tracking, haptic feedback, and more, according to a newly published report. So Upload VR cites multiple reliable sources on the matter who say that Sony has shared details with its partners about these PS4 2 features. The report suggests that the new revision of the headset could feature a 4000 by 2040 pixel resolution, gaze tracking, and a lens separation adjustment detail, a feature that can be seen on the Valve Index headset. The 4K resolution would be a big step up from the original PlayStation VR, which featured a 960 by 1080 pixels per eye, and a small step up on the popular Oculus Quest 2 headsets, 1832 by 1920 per eye. That's a lot of detail on these pixels, and I don't know what that means. Seems like it's better. Eye tracking within the headset will allow for foveated rendering, a technique that allows VR experiences to reduce the quality of rendering in players' peripheral vision, essentially allowing for developers to increase the quality of what players actually see. Another feature mentioned in the report is haptic feedback, which report suggests that could be implemented via a motor in the headset and would complement the headset's new controllers, which also feature haptic feedback. An onboard camera would track the position of the controllers, reducing the amount of peripherals needed to make the headset work. Another small note mentioned in the report is that the headset will reportedly connect to the PS5 via a single USB cable. That one's big for me too, to not have that chunky box set thing. But how do you feel about some of these features not officially announced from Sony, but rumor mill and apparently reports say that this is going to be in PSVR 2?
Yeah, I think it's easy to believe. I think haptic feedback, especially, is a very natural sort of evolution to what we have now. I think that's one thing that you can really hone in on and sort of say that would be sort of well received there, especially on the headset itself. I think that would be really cool. But yeah, it's sounding really really great. It's making me sort of well, I was going to say it's making me sort of regret getting the Oculus, but I think for the price that the Quest 2 is at, it's not really something you can, you can regret really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely I never really considered having like two VR headsets. Like I would never think of getting that PlayStation VR. But I think now after hearing what I've heard so far, and obviously all the exclusivity things we've seen with PlayStation, the first PlayStation VR, I think it could definitely be worth looking into, depending on its price, obviously. But we've already mentioned that it's going to have to be priced very competitively because
Yeah.
the Oculus Quest 2 is standalone and so cheap. Um, People can buy it without having a console. So they need to definitely compete with that VR entry point sort of price.
Yeah, they're in a tough spot where they have to step it up with PSVR2 from the original PSVR, but also make it still competitive with the Oculus, which is the most successful VR unit right now. So it's tough, but I think I'm super excited to actually feel these features and see what people think of PSVR2. And you have those exclusive. That's going to be the big selling point of PSVR2 is having those exclusives. Do we see maybe RE8 gets its own PlayStation VR2 exclusive situation, just like they had with RE7. I know Oculus has a deal having having Resident Evil 4 VR exclusive to them, at least for a timed aspect. So I wonder what deals are being made there. But yeah, it's the fact that they're bringing over those features and having it being one cable that goes to your PS5. That's a huge deal. So it seems like they're on the right track. But the next big thing is how much is this thing going to cost?
Yeah, definitely. It could definitely go one of two ways, but I think they would be pretty foolish to outprice it sort of too much to sort of make it too expensive. Because again, because the Quest 2 is standalone, people will just opt for that instead. And unless they get some really great exclusives, which obviously are hard to think of right now because they'd be in the future. But yeah, you can't really justify spending much more than you would on the Oculus Quest 2 unless it really has some uh, crazy features. I mean, obviously the 4K display would warrant a little bit of a price increase in comparison, but you still got to just be careful. Because I don't think people care about resolution when it comes to VR, just because it's not about how real everything looks, because that sort of feeling of being in VR just trumps all of that kind of thing. I mean, I always say the best experience I've had on VR is on PlayStation VR playing Resident Evil 7, and that compared to visually compared to games on the Oculus is much lower quality, but it just doesn't matter because that's not what you don't care about how real things look in VR because that you get a different sense of reality just from being there and interacting with things.
Yeah, I think you're on something where they need to kind of focus more on does everything track well? Does your hand movements or the controller is it one to one where there's no delay? And if everything's a little bit blurry in the world or less resolution, people I think are willing to bend towards just having a more fluid experience and not care as much as like the resolution on stuff. If it feels better, there's no motion sickness or less of it with something that's a little less has a lower resolution. I think they'd prefer that over something that has the highest resolution, but it's not able to track your movements and all that kind of stuff better. So yeah, there's a balance I got to strike. And yeah, I've never tried the PSVR. I would love to, but I think I'm gonna wait to see what PSVR2 looks like. I'm also curious. I'm imagining or assuming that PSVR2 is only going to work on the PS5. I don't know if they've confirmed that, but they might have to wait to release this thing where they're in a world where you can get the PS5, so you can also get the PSVR2. They're almost shooting themselves in the foot if they release PSVR2 next year and you still can't get a PS5. It's like they have to wait till both those things can be available.
I mean, it'd be cool if it had some sort of standalone features, maybe some games that you can play on it without the PS5. But because I mean, similarly to the Oculus Quest 2, where that is in itself a machine that can run pretty incredible experiences without the need of a PC. But the option to plug it into a PC for that extra power is there. So if Oculus can create a standalone headset, which you don't need anything else with for the price, then there's no reason why PlayStation can't do that as well. Because yeah, like you said, if people can't get their hands on a PS5, at least they can buy a PlayStation VR2 and play, these smaller games or things on it. And then when they get the PS5, it's going to open up all these new games to them.
Yeah, I think it's a big deal. If they can nail that just like Oculus has, then that's way more competitive. But we will see. So Callum, we'll end on this last one here since you are a big fan of Final Fantasy. This was in the rumor mill just recently. So, rumor, another major PS5 exclusive Final Fantasy game will be announced at E3. This is Robert. I have lights behind my TV that are falling apart. That's what's making that sound. So, this is Robert Ramsey of PushSquare.com. Square Enix has another Final Fantasy game in development exclusively for PlayStation 5, according to a fresh rumor that's already being picked up all over the internet. This is in addition to all the Final Fantasy projects currently announced, such as Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 7 Remake Intergrade, and we assume Final Fantasy 7 Remake 2. This rumor stems from Navtra, a Reset Era insider with a seemingly accurate track record. Navtra previously predicted most of the main reveals for Sony's first PS5 showcase, including the fact that Final Fantasy 16 would be announced as an exclusive. Navtra writes, I believe you can expect at least one more major Final Fantasy announcement in addition to updates on the currently announced stuff. The post goes on to say that it'll be a good E3 season for Square Enix overall. So, Callum, how do you feel about this possible, this rumor floating around, and what do you think that next exclusive to PS5 or PlayStation could be?
Yeah, obviously, I'm super pumped to hear that there's something out there that we don't know, and it's going to be Final Fantasy related. I think if I was to guess what it would be, it'd probably be a tactical RPG like Final Fantasy Tactics, just because that's a game that people just love. I mean, so many people say that. I mean, I personally haven't played it before, but I know a lot of people say Tactics is their favorite Final Fantasy game. It's meant to be really, really great, and it never got a sequel. It's never been um, well, it never got a proper sequel. It's never been like brought out onto current consoles or anything like that. I think you can get it on your phone and maybe Vita or something. Um, but yeah, so I think it makes sense for not necessarily a Tactics 2, but a grid-based tactical RPG set in the Final Fantasy world, because those games do seem to be making a little bit of a comeback as well. Um, so I think that would be a good move if they were to go for that. I know that a lot of people would really, really want that. And but yeah, I mean, if I was to say what I would want, but it probably wouldn't be. It'd be nice to get another remake of maybe Final Fantasy 6 or something like that, or a sequel to one of the other games. I know that a lot of people want a Final Fantasy 10 Part 3.
Mm.
So yeah, it's really interesting to speculate on. Final Fantasy is always a game sort of series like that that you can speculate forever and ever on. But yeah, it's just exciting to know that there's going to be something else announced at E3. I just hope it's not something really naff and crap.
Yeah, I imagine everyone's feeling that way. And we're pretty much, getting close to that normal E3 season. June is usually when that stuff starts to roll out. And I know that Jeff Keighley has his Summer of Games. I want to say in 2 weeks or a week from now. So you have that coming. I know E3 still exists as an online thing, but in some aspect, like it's still there, still has some big properties tied to it that are still going to be there. You have to imagine PlayStation's going to have its own thing. Xbox, same thing. I know Xbox has announced some kind of joint conference with now that they have Bethesda. So we're getting into that season now. So we're going to start to see some of these big announcements. So yeah, it's cool to see another exclusive for Final Fantasy on PlayStation. So I just wonder what that thing's going to be. And I have no idea. Even when they announce it, I have no idea what it is because I've never played one of these games. But people love it. Alrighty, Callum. So we'll end it there for the week. Been a long one here, but we can end it there. How can they find you online, Callum?
I'm on Twitter at Bear Munro.
Awesome. And you can keep up with the show as well on Twitter at PlasticArtPod. That is it for us this week. We'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.